Patrick Mahomes, obviously at the top of the list.
What's wrong with Patrick Mahomes? There was always we get it. He's playing really well, but in fantasy, I probably wouldn't start him this week.
Now, you've heard it before. Wait on quarterback. You've seen the analysts talk up sleepers, breakout rookies, and rushing upside, and yet every year Patrick Mahomes is still there, still doing it, and still breaking fantasy football without breaking a sweat. So why do people keep fading him? Well, today we're cutting through the noise to explain why Patrick Mahomes is still the most valuable quarterback in fantasy football. From 2018 to 2020, Patrick Mahomes averaged a mind-numbing 4,600 passing yards and 38 touchdowns per season, solidifying his status as a fantasy football juggernaut. His ability to consistently deliver top-tier performances made him a cornerstone for fantasy managers. Admittedly, his numbers dipped in 2023 and 2024, enough to make fantasy managers wonder if the value is finally gone, but let's be honest, is that doubt actually justified? In 2024, Mahomes faced a series of challenges, including his starting receivers missing a combined 50-plus games due to injuries. Despite this, he amassed 3,928 passing yards and 26 touchdowns, finishing QB 11 in fantasy rankings according to Sports Illustrated. That's a down year for Patrick Mahomes.
Patrick Mahomes, it was a frustrating season.
Their offense went from what we hoped could be like the fastest offense they had since Tyreek Hill to a bunch of aging vets who are plotters.
While the last two seasons marked his lowest fantasy rankings, it's worth noting that Mahomes has never finished outside of the top 12. And even in a so-called off year, Mahomes showcased his trademark creativity and resilience, turning broken plays into positive gains. With explosive weapons like Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Pacheco, and Marquise Hollywood Brown getting healthy and returning leadership from veterans like Travis Kelce and Kareem Hunt, the Chiefs' offense looks primed for a resurgence in 2025. Now, Mahomes' track record speaks for itself. One off year doesn't redefine a legacy, especially when you still finish ahead of 21 other quarterbacks. Even in a season where the Kansas City Chiefs offense faced adversity, Patrick Mahomes remained a reliable fantasy asset. Despite having a receiving core that dropped 27 passes, Mahomes managed to throw for 3,928 yards and 26 touchdowns in 2024 alone. His ability to adapt and create plays under pressure ensured that fantasy managers could count on him week after week. While his deep passing game saw a decline, ranking 28th in QBR for throws over 20 yards, Mahomes compensated with his short and intermediate throws, maintaining a completion percentage of 67.5% according to Arrowhead Pride. The integration of young talent like Worthy and Brown into the offense promises to revitalize the Chiefs' aerial attack and elevate Mahomes' fantasy ceiling to levels reminiscent of his first 5 years in the NFL. In a league where quarterback performances can be volatile, Mahomes offers a rare blend of reliability and upside, and despite an ever-changing supporting cast of offensive playmakers, he remains a cornerstone for any fantasy football roster. In addition to the injuries, the Chiefs have had to overcome the key departures of several offensive weapons over the past few years. Tyreek Hill was traded to the Dolphins in 2022, Juju Smith-Schuster was sent to the Patriots in 2023, Marquez Valdes-Scantling joined the Bills in 2024, and Mecole Hardman signed with the Packers in 2025. Despite these changes, Mahomes and company continued to evolve, integrating new talent and maintaining their status as one of the league's most dynamic units. In 2024, the Kansas City Chiefs offense faced its share of setbacks, including the newly acquired Marquise Brown missing more than half of the season due to a shoulder injury, but the emergence of new weapons provided a spark. Rookie wide receiver Xavier Worthy brought a new dimension to the offense, recording 59 receptions for 638 yards and 6 touchdowns. Fourth-year tight end Noah Gray and veteran pickup DeAndre Hopkins combined for 9 touchdown receptions between the two of them, and in typical Andy Reid fashion, the running backs were heavily involved in the passing game. Samaje Perine led the way with 28 receptions for 322 yards and a touchdown, while Kareem Hunt chipped in with 23 catches for 176 yards. Even without a complete array of weapons, Mahomes continued to orchestrate the offense with precision, adapting to the new personnel and maintaining the team's high-powered attack in one of the most reliably consistent systems in football. Speaking of high-powered, if you like what you've seen so far, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more high-powered content. Now, the Chiefs didn't build an offense. They built a machine. It shifts, it adapts, and it reloads. Andy Reid designs the chaos, and Mahomes brings it to life, and since 2018, Kansas City has only finished outside the top 10 in scoring twice, and that includes the year they lost Tyreek Hill. No deep threat, no problem. Mahomes won the MVP anyway. This offense doesn't rely on one weapon. It manufactures space and turns timing into terror. It doesn't really matter what the play call is, the real damage comes when it actually breaks down, and that's when Mahomes gets dangerous. This is the only offense in the league that can run a literal merry-go-round and still score a touchdown. The system works as the talent rotates, but the magic stays the same. Because as long as Mahomes is back there, the machine never stops, and when the fantasy playoffs arrive in weeks 15 to 17, it kicks into high gear. You can win your fantasy draft in August, but you win your league in December. And when the fantasy playoffs hit, weeks 15 through 17, only a few quarterbacks actually tilt the field. In 2022, Mahomes averaged a ridiculous 32.8 points per game during the playoffs. 3 games, 984 yards, and 10 total touchdowns with no interceptions. He single-handedly delivered titles to fantasy managers who stuck with him. While other managers were praying their streamer didn't implode, Mahomes was putting up week winners 3 Sundays in a row. Even looking at 2023, which was a statistical down year, Mahomes still ranked QB6 across fantasy playoff weeks, and that was with a wide receiver core leading the league in drops and a top 5 worst explosive play rate. He still found ways to generate 20+ points consistently when it mattered most. Then came the 2024 fantasy playoffs. Armed with Xavier Worthy, Isaiah Pacheco, and a healthy Marquise Brown, Mahomes caught fire again. Across his final 3 games, he threw for 798 total yards and 7 touchdowns, finishing as the QB3 in playoff weeks behind Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. These aren't just good games, they're championship swings. While your opponents were watching Lamar struggle or hoping Anthony Richardson could stay on the field, you were calmly stacking playoff wins with the most bankable arm in the NFL. It's not a hot streak, it's a pattern. When the playoffs hit, Mahomes rises and your trophy case grows. It's the classic draft dilemma. Do I reach for a quarterback early or do I play the waiting game? Year after year, fantasy analysts scream the same thing. Wait on QB, grab your running backs, and stack your wideouts, and most of the time, that's solid advice. But what happens when that 3rd round wideout busts? What happens when that dead zone running back flames out by week 5? You lose leverage and you chase the waiver wire, all while that quarterback you passed on is averaging 20+ a game every week without fail. So let's be clear, Patrick Mahomes cost you a 3rd rounder in 2023. But he paid it back, finishing as the QB3 in all of fantasy. There was no drama, no guessing, just locked in value from September through championship week. Now, do you still plan on picking a late round quarterback? Sure, you can win that way, but remember that it takes perfect conditions. The right breakout, the right schedule, the right health. Miss one of those and you're staring Gardner Minshew in the face in week 8. In 2023, of all quarterbacks drafted after round 9, only one cracked the top 6. Meanwhile, Mahomes was steady, productive, and elite, and he did it without running for 800 yards or needing to take hits every week. He doesn't need to put his body on the line to give you 25 a week. There's no injury scares, no volatility, just production. And now the upgrades are all healthy. Even the backfield added receiving production with Elijah Mitchell coming over from San Francisco. So now Mahomes isn't just safe, he's armed and ready to punish defenses in every part of the field. Last season, you passed on Mahomes for a guy who gave you 8 points a week, and then you spent the next 2 months trying to trade for consistency. So let's stop pretending he's a luxury. Mahomes isn't some shiny toy you avoid for the sake of value. He is the value. Draft him early, sleep better, and start talking trash sooner. Because you're going to be in the hunt come playoff time, and that's when you want to hit the gas. It happens every year. You build the perfect draft strategy. You wait on a quarterback, just like they told you. You grab a sleeper, or maybe 2, while talking yourself into the upside. You then convince yourself that this is the year that Deshaun Watson returns to form, or that Anthony Richardson is going to stay healthy, or that Jordan Love will be the next breakout star, and then you're chasing, streaming, and swapping one desperation play for another. The waiver wire becomes your second job, and your season is circling the drain. Meanwhile, someone else took the boring pick. They drafted Patrick Mahomes, and every single week they banked 25 points without even thinking about it. No cold streaks, no benchings, and no panic. Mahomes isn't just a quarterback, he's a cheat code, a walking insurance policy for your fantasy roster, if you will. And yet, every year managers keep making the same mistake. They fade Mahomes, they chase unicorns, and they talk themselves out of greatness. You're not chasing upside with Mahomes. You're not hoping for a breakout. You're getting a legend in his prime with the highest floor, the cleanest mechanics, and the best system in football. It's not a gamble, and it's not a reach. It's Patrick Mahomes, and he's still the most valuable quarterback in fantasy football. So stop chasing sleepers. Stop fading greatness. Draft Patrick Mahomes and let the rest of your league panic. This is Snap Count, where fantasy meets football history. Hit that bell and never draft scared again.